To move along to an interesting area I thought I would just come and talk about initially would be the day I almost killed Bill Cosby. Yes, another fascinating moment in your grand Gnosis master. And that is, of course, I grew up in Southern California, close to Los Angeles, in a suburb of Los Angeles known as Valencia, where Magic Mountain is. Now, back then there wasn't much there, and there was always the fun of going into places, which I spent most of my teenage years going into a area called Westwood. Westwood was known for its theaters. They had great old theaters, including the Westwood Village, which is where they have so many Hollywood premieres even of today. A fantastic theater built in the 20s with the real theater, giant screen, good sound systems in a classic 1920s Art Deco type building. So I used to go there through my all of my teenage years as soon as I was able to drive, and this is what you did with your girlfriend every weekend, and I did this. Seeing all the movies in the 70s that came out. What else do you do? So, but it was very fun, and the Westwood Village is an area of, that's probably about 5 miles from Beverly Hills, right close to the 405 freeway in Brentwood. It was a very nice village as of that time, with lots of nice little restaurants of different varying prices, and of course all those movie theaters where you went in and watched movies. I would go in there every week, watch a movie, and then go and have something to eat with my girlfriend. So this is a prime activity of people who knew anything or where to go. It was a fun thing to do, an exciting place. Westwood Village would be crowded on Friday and Saturday nights. You could barely walk the streets. It borders UCLA. There was a lot of college people. Everybody went there. I would even see movie stars walking on the streets there. This is where the great theaters with a good sound system was. In the 1970s, that was difficult to find. There was a lot of movie theaters, and they all were little garages with terrible sound if you didn't. So the whole idea is drive another 30 minutes or about 45 minutes from where I lived on the freeway, go there, and you were in a, to term it, kind of a New Yorky type environment. They had health food restaurants and all sorts of fun things, little shops you could go in. And that carried all sorts of stuff, and it was a great fun time, something to pass the time with, and lots of crowds of strange and wonderful people. So this was very close to Beverly Hills. But so everybody, and I used to frequent Beverly Hills, go to the department stores there, etc. You know, a lot of things if you buy for people are priced the same. You can buy it in Hodunk Town in a little mall near you. If you want to buy, let's say, Chanel No. 5 perfume, you can buy it at a top Beverly Hills department store. And the price is exactly the same, but you have the fun of going into a fancy department store if that's what interests you. So you have all these things to do there. So I also was starting my business career and would have different postal addresses in Beverly Hills. And this, of course, was a way of generating a certain amount of prestige to start off with. So it was intriguing, obviously, if anybody saw that you had an address, a business address in Beverly Hills. It automatically told people you were successful. So I had a P.O. box there for my different businesses. I started when I was very young, in my late teens, pushing 20, and used that as an address, and often went into Beverly Hills as well, because again, there's lots of reasonably priced restaurants in Beverly Hills as well, and it's fun to go there. It's a cool little town, and you always had the chance, particularly in the 70s, almost guaranteed that if you went to Beverly Hills, you'd see some movie star. So it was fun. I've seen numerous people walking the streets of Beverly Hills, in stores, etc. So they would be there, and of course this changed a bit as years went on, as people started to hide more, and you would go to a Beverly Hills restaurant in the 70s and late 70s, and they would seat the celebrities with the peasants. Now they have private rooms and other things, but you would see people in the restaurant, they would eat there, and they would be celebrities. I dined a couple of tables away from Orson Welles one time. So this was very common then, as things then started to get more fancy, where people were brought into other places and kind of screwed everything. But you would want a celebrity in your restaurant because people would talk about it. It would make you a lot of money. And the prestige that goes with that. So I oftentimes was in Beverly Hills for one reason or another. They had a great crepe shop there. I used to go all the time that had great crepes. Inexpensive. So you could go sit there. And one night I was in there, and who was in there? Shirley MacLaine. This is when she was going to Peru, and it was late at night. I forget what time it was, an off day. This is when I liked to go there. It wasn't busy. Who was there? Shirley MacLaine. So Shirley MacLaine was there in her military-type garb, a surplus guard. And since nobody was paying attention to her, like so many movie stars, she was being very loud and obnoxious so people would look at her. Somebody came over to her with a phone and said, will you talk to my friend here? This is what celebrities get all the time. Say hello to my buddy. He said that you're Shirley MacLaine. So she graciously did that. And I'm sure she was happy because somebody recognized her. I didn't. I think it's stupid I didn't go over to so many people. But, in Los Angeles, when you grow up there, you're kind of, trained, or it's part of it. Well, you don't bother people. They do their thing. You look at them, you think to yourself, wow, interesting, and you move on. So this is very typical of someone living in Los Angeles, particularly at that time. So I used to go to this crepe restaurant all the time. They had excellent food, and it was inexpensive. So why eat in some shack somewhere? Go to Beverly Hills and eat in a nice restaurant, which who knows will show up. Could be Shirley MacLaine, and eat for the same price. This is how smart people do things. So a lot of people are intimidated by these things. I never was. So, but regardless of that little incident, meeting, I guess I didn't really meet Shirley MacLaine. I didn't really even talk to her. I gawked at her for a little bit and ate my crepes and left. So the whole idea is that on a different occasion, I was driving down to my postal box there, which was on a side street. You got to remember, Beverly Hills has side streets that aren't very busy. This is not New York City. This is not skyscrapers. These are lots of little streets of downtown Beverly Hills that are not overly populated. There's little office buildings. There's little other things that go with that. So it's not wall-to-wall people like New York City. So Los Angeles is a very put upon city unjustifiably. It's a great city that has everything. It's just spread out, and you got to know where you're going. As a person who's been to New York, it's pushed together, lots of crowded. You go from one to the other. Los Angeles, you have to know where you're going. But everything is still very, very exciting if you know where to go. You can go from the beach to Beverly Hills. This can all take you like 20, 30 minutes to go from Malibu to Beverly Hills to Brentwood and all the little fun that's in between. There's great restaurants. There's a little Chinatown. There's all the things that you have in other cities, but it's done on a very smaller, more handable basis, meaning it's not intimidating. So here I was driving along in my car, my older little car. I had a Toyota Corolla bought to me by my mother's grandmother, who paid $500 so I would have a car because my father would never provide anything, refused to. So here I was in my old little car, which was supposed to be a 4-cylinder, but because of the fact that he was too stupid as an aeronautical engineer to buy a car that didn't have a burnt valve, I was stuck with this underpowered. Of course, it seemed to have started and worked, got me from A to B, but God forbid you hit a hill. So the whole idea is that here I was putting along in my little car. It was a nice day. I wasn't going all that fast, thank God for Bill Cosby, but somebody runs out in front of my car in this side street, which is close to my postal box. So, needless to say, my brakes did work pretty good. So I slammed on my brake and come up to probably within 3 feet of this guy. I look into the face. I said, well, what the hell? Staring at him. And was it? It was Bill Cosby. And he said, hey, man, don't kill me. And just trotted across the street. So the whole idea is that some people may have thought that maybe it was good if I would have hit Bill Cosby and killed him, considering his problem appears to be alleged deviant behavior with so many people. Who really knows what the truth there is? Obviously, something is going on to one lesser or greater extent, but everybody jumps on you when the problems happen. So, Some people would have probably said, well, if you would have hit him and killed him, you would have saved a lot of people misery. Well, that was not meant to be that day, but it did come close to me almost killing Bill Cosby.